After a rough start to the year, I decided to take a break from hardcore to check out the Fellowship playtest. I'm not some big Mythic Plus enjoyer or anything, but I've got a few Keystone Master achievements under my belt. So 6 days and 20 hours played later, this was my experience trying out Fellowship. After setting my hotkeys to something other than 1 through 8, we enter the tutorial. We look respectfully, run around, realize this wasn't built with custom hotkeys in mind, fall to our death, and beat up an enemy with more boss mechanics than most classic WoW dungeons. I have to say, for all the jokes I could make about Fellowship borrowing heavily from World of Warcraft, the fact that they condensed almost everything you need to know about combat into a 9-minute segment goes beyond whatever the hell Exile's reach is.
What the fuck happened?
If anything, it reminds me of the Helldivers 2 tutorial, which is probably the best video game tutorial in recent years. Sadly, Goth Mommy isn't available for this playtest, so we have a hard decision to make. The tank Helena seemed like a nice starting point, and I'm sure they put her in the tutorial to encourage more people to play the notably unpopular role. The other options seem to be an angry monk tank with a tragic backstory, a frost mage, an arms warrior who copied WoW's model clipping, a druid healer who will have more fan art than the rest of the cast combined, and a short King Santa priest. We have the whole short brand thing going on, and Vigor seems pretty cool. Damage dealers will likely make up most of the player base, so I think our best bet is to try healing for now and swap to tanking as needed. Never mind. Our friends rolled healers and damage dealers, so tank lady it is. Now once the servers actually come up, we can play. Despite the game forgetting the hotkeys we set 5 minutes ago, our first dungeon goes pretty well. We slam into the smaller groups, getting used to our buttons and managing our combo points. It's a bit dull though, so let's pull a bit more.
Oh, no.
Okay, never mind. We slaughter loads of packs while making our way to the boss. Maybe a little too many, but we're still learning the ropes. Alduin Shadow Breach is a fun fight. The telegraphs are clear, and while I don't really understand what the bombs are all about, I'm sure it'll be fine. Boss dies, loot is acquired, and we get some sweet shoulders. Since I overkilled quite a bit the first time around, let's try this again on +1. The second run feels much smoother. I already have a better handle on the pulls, and the Taric in this group knows how to spin to win when they're not jumping around. Now we just need people to figure out using interrupt markers. It's only been half a day since the servers went live, and people already out here doing mass pulls. We get a little bit lost at times in the larger dungeons. The freedom of choice is nice to have for planning routes, but the maps don't always make things obvious.
I cannot find my character for the life of me.
In a wild turn of events, it seems like Fellowship is the only game with a lack of damage dealers. What a time to be alive. It's pretty immediate how different people start to act once you hit the timed content. I get that this doesn't represent a wider player base, but it was funny that the first time we encounter any kind of content with a stricter bard across, tempers immediately get shorter. Some more dungeon runs later, and it's time to take on our first +5. The new abilities on enemies hurt, and we struggle a bit leading up to the boss.
No!
Welp. We pull again, but without the healer by mistake. On the third attempt, and as the last gal standing, we pull it off for the team to complete the +5. We keep going throughout the day, pushing the difficulty up with all kinds of different players. Day 3 I was ill and didn't get to play. Day 4 starts well. We get our first ring along with a gem to put in it. I'm beginning to notice just how wide the gap between players is too. Just look at these 2 rhymes on the damage meters. It makes you wonder if we'll see people selling carries for certain levels of content. People are getting better too. I've never had an Empyrean Sands go under % before. Up until now, it's felt like people made it their goal to pull as many patrols as possible. We spend a lot of the day just slowly working our way up the difficulty levels until the time comes to try our first +10. It goes smoothly, with only the occasional death, earning us our first time +10 and our first relic. Now, if you've started seeing a pattern with the way this video is going, then you'll understand why I'm wrapping up before finishing the rest of the week. Sure, I did my plus 15 and unlocked the rat mount that I won't get to keep. I also had a lot of fun actually playing the game, so this isn't me saying the game is bad. But the gameplay loop is purely doing the same thing on repeat while numbers go up. The only room for storytelling is when people make mistakes, which felt cruel to focus on when I'm also making mistakes. I died from jumping off a cliff in the tutorial, for crying out loud. Just like modern World of Warcraft, Fellowship is largely a game about being as optimal as possible in order to climb difficulty levels. There is little room for creative storytelling, and sadly, this means I don't see myself or many others making particularly interesting content for it. I'll still play the game, but not as a content creator. Expect hardcore and other videos to return soon.